Hi, my name's Emma and let's talk spooky stuff. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to a monthly wrap up. It has been a month. This month has been a long month. I think I watched a lot. So I'm super excited to get into that today. But first, I get asked all the time, how do I watch so many movies? How do I access them? Well, the answer is today's sponsor, and it is Surfshark. Surfshark is a VPN, which stands for Virtual Private Network. Surfshark not only encrypts all of your data and protects your identity online, it also helps you unlock geo-blocked content. So if there was a horror movie that you wanted to watch that was only in Canada's Netflix or Japan's Netflix, you just flick a switch and now you can unlock all of the content that is available to that country. Obviously, I talk about Surfshark all the time because I actually use it and I pay for it out of pocket. It is the most user-friendly VPN I've ever tried. I use it daily and it truly is the reason I've been able to unlock a lot of the content I watch. If you'd like to try out Surfshark but you're unsure, they do have a 30-day risk-free money-back guarantee, and you can use my code SPOOKY or use the link in the description to get 83% off and 3 months extra for free. Thank you so much to Surfshark for supporting creators like me and for sponsoring this video. Now let's get on to Letterboxd. If you ever want to find out what app I'm using, it's Letterboxd. I always have it linked down below if you want to follow my account. Okay guys, let's get started. Let's start the start of the month. There's so much here, but first I do want to say I've been getting a lot of comments about the new Nicolas Cage film, Pig. I am going to watch it. I'm actually hoping to watch it tonight. I'm filming this during the day. I just wanted to watch it with my partner because we both like Nicolas Cage, so I was saving it. But just so you know, it's on my radar. I'm definitely watching it this week sometime, so don't worry. I have definitely got that under control. Okay, let's start at the start. Okay, this is a film that was sent to me. It's called Horror in High Desert. It's a found footage film about a man that goes missing. And it's the found footage from The Experience. Unfortunately, I wasn't a big fan of this one. I felt it was quite dry and I was kind of waiting for a big lead up. It takes a lot of inspiration from films like Lake Mungo, but I don't feel like there was a big reveal or result in the film. So, for me, I liked the idea and the inspiration behind it for sure, but it just didn't work. I watched Awake. How are people not talking about this film? Because it's so odd. This is another film I really wanted to like. This is like a sensory horror in a way. It's about how all of a sudden everyone on Earth can't sleep, and it's like a pandemic really. And this woman and her children are trying to like figure it out, and her daughter can sleep. So her daughter becomes, the target of what would be experiments and things like that. So it's about them finding the solution. But how it results in being an epidemic is because people start losing it, seeing hallucinations, all that kind of stuff when they can't sleep. So everyone's fighting while they're having like really low functioning, no energy, and they can't get it together. It's interesting. I wanted to like this film more. It was quite cheesy. I think I just watched it randomly on Netflix, but I hadn't heard anyone else talk about it. I think it's quite cheesy. But it was a really interesting idea, and it was very strange to see like where it was going. I watched Bo Burnham Inside. As you can see, I have a note on here. I watched it last month, but I don't know why, but some of my entries, they were just saving as, like, they weren't saving to the date, so it didn't show up on my last month's, and then I got a lot of questions saying that you wanted me to talk about it. So I did watch it last month. I am not like a big Bo Burnham fan, I guess. It's not really my kind of comedy, but I was really interested in this because I know a lot of people were talking about it, and so I checked it out. I thought it was good. I understand, like, obviously the whole gist. I get it, and I think it's really cool. It's a cool experimental idea, but once I know the concept, I didn't feel like it was as amazing as everyone made it out to be. And it's not like I haven't been dealing with ups and downs myself, but yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe people had overhyped it to me, but for me, I wasn't obsessed with it. And a lot of people do love this film, so this is definitely the unpopular opinion because this one has like a 9 out of 10. If people who haven't watched it, it is Bo Burnham. He is a stand-up comedian, or is he just a comedian? And he's also a YouTuber, and he did this comedy special while he was in self-isolation, and it's just like him spiraling. It is quite dark. and it kind of is just, the way it's edited is quite like cool, but it definitely gets you back to those moments when you were like stuck in your house and kind of losing it a little bit. So yeah, that's how I felt about it. I watched Fear Street 1994. I have done a whole ranking video in which I also break down, all of the different elements I loved in all the films I thought they pointed to, and just little bits in the background that I picked up on. So if you haven't watched that video, please check it out. I watched Vicious Fun. This was on Shudder. This is an interesting film. This one is about a guy who accidentally stumbles into a meeting of serial killers, and I like it because everyone has like their own kind of quirk. It's really tightly wound. It's pretty slick. It's pretty fast. But yeah, I mean, it was okay. I liked it. I just was wanting a little bit more, if anything, because it feels like it's like this action-packed journey and then it kind of tapers off towards the end. But I do recommend it if you have Shudder to check it out, especially because I liked the whole idea, the lead character. He also is this horror enthusiast. So it kind of, comes in from that standpoint, which is something that we can all relate to. The next film I watched was Ghostbusters. Big fan of Ghostbusters, just a rewatch. I watched this with my patrons. I love Ghostbusters, so it was a good time. I watched An Unquiet Grave. This is a film I talked about what's coming to VOD this month. It is about a husband and his wife has passed away, and his wife's sister and him are going to do this ceremony to hopefully bring her back. It kind of seemed a bit obvious to me what was going on. I felt it was quite predictable. It's quite a slow movie. I wasn't a big fan of it, as you can see by my score, but I think some people would be. It just really wasn't for me. It was quite slow, and because I felt it was predictable, if it had a sudden jolt and change, I would have really liked it, but because it kind of went on the exact path I thought it was going to go on, I wasn't a huge fan. I watched Till Death, and I know a lot of you guys were talking about this one. I thought it was really cool. Megan Fox, it's kind of hard. I don't really want to even show this because there's a lot of spoilers. Sorry, I feel really weird saying spoilers because I got a comment the other day, someone saying that I was fear-mongering about spoilers. And I don't think that I do that, but I do think a lot of you guys appreciate the fact that I don't want to spoil films for you. I'm trying to give you recommendations. So this one was really interesting. So let's just say she wakes up and she's handcuffed to a dead body. And she has to like figure out how to get herself out of this situation. And yeah, really interesting stuff. I saw in an interview that it's a real body the whole time. So she's like dragging this person throughout this house, and it's just insane. Really high tension, a little bit cheesy, especially the start, like her lead up to her character is very cheesy, but I really appreciated the tension in the film. It's a lot of like physical, horror, physical thriller. So yeah, on the edge of my seat, definitely worth a watch. I watched Ouija and Ouija Origin of Evil. I watched this because of my Mike Flanagan video. If you haven't checked it out, Mike Flanagan was on my channel. And so I watched these ones because I wanted to kind of get the idea of the first one before watching the prequel again. Obviously, I like the prequel more than the original. And if you haven't seen the prequel and you have seen the original, definitely give the prequel a chance because it's nothing like the original. They kind of take the story and kind of twist it and make it into something that's actually watchable. So definitely check it out. I watched You're Never Really Here. I heard a lot of hype about this and I don't know why. I don't know why it fell off my radar. This is the Joaquin Phoenix one about, he's a war veteran. It kind of in a way reminded me of Leon the Professional. I know it's not the same at all, but like just the dynamic. Anyway, it's about his like dark spiral and he meets a girl who's troubled and gone through a traumatic event, and his just connection to another human being, I guess. It's a very grim, dark movie, very dark, and I thought it was gonna be, because a lot of people told me it was really emotional. I thought it was gonna be easier to digest, but it's definitely not. It's very deep and very heavy. I thought it was alright. I watched Luca. I think this is just on Disney, streaming platform. This is about, it's so adorable, about this kid who's like a sea monster and he wants to go and live with humans. Anyway, I watched this with my partner. We're both in our 30s. Living our best lives. I thought it was cute. It was a very strange cartoon though, because I'm used to like animations, following a certain formula. A lot of cartoons are kind of all over the place. But this one, it was just weird. It felt like it was a story about something else. And that's all I'll say on that. But yeah, I mean, if you like really quirky child movies, check it out. I watched next. I can't believe I'd never seen this. This is Nicolas Cage at his finest. I gave it a 2. And Julia Moore. And in this one, he is this Vegas magician who actually has real powers where he can see 2 minutes into the future at all times. There's so many times in this movie that like logistically nothing ever makes sense if you could always tell what was going to happen 2 minutes ahead of time. But anyway, that's besides the point. And then I guess FBI or some, enforcement wants him to come and help them try and stop this terrorist attack. It's all over the place. It's funny. It's strange. And Nicolas Cage, looking into the future is just something that you need to enjoy once in your life. Not a good film, but it was a fun experience. I watched Escape Room, I watched Escape Room because I was going to watch Escape Room Tournament of Champions. I really wanted to just watch the first one before going into it, and they do have a recap at the start of the second one, but it is definitely worth rewatching the first one just because the characters, it carries on the same characters, and I think it's just important to go with the flow and like to remember like their background and stuff because that comes into it. And I did a review for Escape Room Tournament of Champions if you'd like to check that out. I watched Always Shine. This is what I watched for Does This Offend You? Oh my god, guys. Does This Offend You next month is going to be a lot. For August, it's going to be on my channel and we're going to be talking about the Warrens. We're going to be going hardcore into the Warrens, so definitely watch out for announcements on that. I normally put them up on my community page and on Instagram and on Twitter, so definitely check that out. Anyway, for last month we watched Always Shine, and you can see a couple of movies later, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Always Shine, I had never seen this movie, which is very interesting because it's not really stalker element, but definitely obsession element. It's about these two friends that both are kind of competing for roles to be actresses in LA, and then like one of them's kind of more successful than the other, and it's just like this toxic friendship between them, and then they go out to this like cabin for this getaway together, and they're just like passive aggressive the whole time, and it just boils over and it gets to this moment, and it's just very intense. So if that sounds like something you want to watch, definitely watch it. I won't say it was my favorite, like the whole ending it's very ambiguous and strange, and I wasn't really my favorite, but the tension building up is just amazing. It's so, your skin is crawling the whole time. You can really feel the hatred they have for each other, and I think that, I hate saying this, that's something very special, but I think it's done really well. Like the chemistry or like lack of chemistry between them that like made them hit each other so hard. It's Mackenzie Davis as well. They just did so well, and when they're really going at each other, you can feel it in your soul. It's a lot. I watched Fear Street the second again. We've spoken about Fear Street, and then Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. I'd seen this before, and yeah, it's a very long movie, but of course it's a classic if you've never seen it. It's, again, this is why we put it with Always Shine, about rivalry. This time it's between someone who was a child star and her sister, and, them being famous at different points of their life, and now they're kind of stuck together. I don't want to ruin too much, but they're kind of stuck together, and it's like a little bit cuckoo cocoa, and if you look in the story behind it, it's super interesting, and that's where the TV show Feud came from, which I really want to check out now that I've looked into more of the backstory between the two actresses. Obviously, they had this rivalry before that, and then it was just all, again, boiled over to this point, so very interesting stuff. I watched Captive State. My partner suggested this film to me, and I was like, oh god, like this sounds right up my alley. How have I never heard of this? Oh my god. I was like, how do I explain this? And I'm looking at this this blurb, and it's a lot. So pretty much what happened is extraterrestrials came to the world and took over, and now everyone's like implanted with, it's like a sci-fi, everyone's like implanted with stuff, and people decide to try and take the world back. And it's just about like this government versus these aliens, but there's not really a lot of aliens. It's more about the people and the politics involved. I wasn't a fan of this film. I just couldn't really get, oh, here we go. Here's what other people think. I couldn't really get into it. I don't know why. But it does have John Goodman and Vera Farmiga, which her role in this is very strange. Never seen her like that before. And I love John Goodman, but it wasn't for me. I mean, I am a big sci-fi fan, but I'm not like political kind of social sci-fi. I like my aliens, obviously, and I wanted more aliens. Speaking of, I watched On the Trail of UFOs, and this was a screener sent to me, and this is a documentary about these people who go through this area of the Hudson Valley, and they're just talking to different people about different oddities and experiences they've had. I'm very much into that. I know not everyone is, but I love like listening to those kind of stories and like ordinary people talking about things they've seen in the sky, and they aren't really always pointing it to it being like life from another planet. Like sometimes they talk about how it could be military craft that we don't know about and things like that. So I thought it was all right. I gave it like in the middle. I watched a classic horror story, and if you haven't written down anything, definitely write this one down. This was a ride, and I don't want to say too much because it is a ride. Let's just say it's about 5 different people from different backgrounds who get into this kind of carpooling app, and they all go into this car, and they're on the way from one village to another in Italy. And along the way, they get into a car accident, and they wind up somewhere completely random, and they can't contact anyone. So they kind of have to escape this situation together. That's very vague, and I'm going to keep it very vague on purpose. This is a film for horror lovers. I mean, that's the name, but you definitely want to check it out if you love the horror structure and you're interested in it. This one really twists that, and I think you'd very much enjoy what it does with it. It was very intriguing. It's very unpredictable. And the girl in there, Matilda Anna Ingrid Lutz, she's from Revenge, she's from Rings, but she's been doing it all. I think she's definitely an unsung hero of horror, and I think this one is worth a watch for sure. Really enjoyed it and really surprised by it. So highly recommend you guys should definitely check that one out. And it's on Netflix, by the way. Faking a Murderer. I'm going to be talking about this one in depth very soon, so I'm going to just skip over that for now. It's not available yet anyway until the start of August, but I will remind you. And I probably will talk about it in my What's Coming to VOD this month, which is going to be my next video anyway, so let's not repeat ourselves. We got Fear Street 1666. Loved it. Obviously, it was my favorite of the Fear Streets. If you didn't see my ranking, spoiler alert, huge fan. Next, I'm very excited to talk to you guys about this film, 9 Days. I never write things, I wrote. My heart actually hurts. This film, guys, oh my God, it is not a horror. It's not a thriller. It's a drama. It's a slow drama, but it will tear your heart out and literally your soul. So what's really cool about this is it features Winston Duke, and he is chef's kiss. This performance is insane. He's from Us. He was the father in Us, and he was almost like unrecognizable. He has like an English accent in this one, and he's just, oh my God, he's just breathtaking. Anyway, I guess we'll just leave it at this blurb because there is just so much that, not a lot that happens, but just a lot of emotions you have to work through. I laughed and I cried throughout this whole film. The blurb says, a reclusive man conducts a series of interviews with human souls for a chance for them to be born. It's a very somber experience that will make you reflect on your life and maybe break you a little bit, but in doing so, you feel a weird sense of comfort. And I highly, highly recommend, when you can watch this, definitely checking it out. I was able to see it at my local independent cinema. I'm not sure if it's online for you, but if it is, please buy it. Don't, do anything else. Buy it, support this kind of work, and you need to watch it. It's so good. Yes, or use your VPN and buy it in a different country. That's what I do. Okay, and then I watched Shiva Baby. Oh my God, have you seen this one? This is this is a movie about a woman who is going through this interesting day, I would say. And she goes to a family event and she runs into someone that is just like a super awkward encounter where she knows them from somewhere else and she kind of has to like cover her ass. Anyway, the whole thing is like the anxiety, it's like anxiety inducing. I've had some people I know, my friend Fritz referred to it as like Mother, and my friend Vanessa, I think she said it was like Krishna. Is that the one that's called the A24 film? I'll put it up here. That one's like, if you want to watch like a film that makes your heart and soul want to leave the room or like sink into eternity and not even think about how human beings can exist and coexist in the same plane, that one's good, but this one's also good. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was like cringy, but if you know what you're getting yourself into, I think that's fine with these films. I understand sometimes you need to be in the right mood to watch them, but yeah, very enjoyable. I watched The Descent, and this was a rewatch with my patrons. Absolutely love The Descent. If you still haven't seen The Descent, you need to check it out. A great example of master filmmaking and original filmmaking within the horror genre, because there's nothing really else like this. And it's about a group of women who go into a cave to go exploring and get stuck there, and there's these things there watching them. And it's absolutely terrifying. The action in it is amazing. The cinematography, the way that it makes you feel like you're trapped there with them. It's amazing. And then there's also these other layers of the dynamics between them and some weird relationships going on. So there's just all these different layers, and it really just takes you along and drags you. It's quite a terrifying movie. One of my favorites for sure. I watched Profile, and I'm a little bit worried about how I explain this to you, but I've never sweated so much watching a film or screamed so much. I had the luxury to watch this on my laptop, and I'll explain why. That sometimes works better for these kinds of movies. If you've seen a movie like Searching or Host, where it's a screen within a screen, this is this film. This film follows a journalist who is trying to infiltrate a terrorist group, and she does so by Skype calling with this guy and trying to get him to give her information and pretend that she really wants in. And she's like recording all of it as it happens. You're hearing everything, you're seeing everything, and it's an absolutely terrifying, thrilling adventure. Absolutely thrilling. I was like screaming the whole time, and it's so fun to watch these kind of things on the laptop. I feel like you just feel like you're holding her laptop during it. So very cool. I recommended it to my friend Scott, and I know he liked it as well. The subject matter is a little bit scary because obviously it's very controversial, and then there's just some different angles when you think about what they're actually telling you as a story and the intent of the film. But for me, I really enjoy this kind of filmmaking. I loved the film Searching, and this one I just thought was such an interesting subject matter, and then with all of the other elements, I think it was a really not fun, should I say fun experience, but very intense experience. So especially if you're trapped inside, I know some people, especially in my country, are trapped inside right now, check it out because it will be so thrilling. It will definitely transport you to a different world. So I do recommend that one as well. And then last night I watched Vampires versus the Bronx, and I watched this as a Netflix party with my patrons. I really wanted to love this film. I was kind of sad. So this is like these little kids, so cute, in the Bronx, and they come across these vampires. A lot of subtext in this film, but it's just very flat, unfortunately. Like, the kids were cute and like, I don't know, they had like these, like a good friendship kind of, and a lot of vampire movies are about friendship and, all that kind of stuff. Maybe I'm just thinking about Lost Boys. But they had like all of the good characters set up, and the story is so interesting, obviously bringing, something so old into the Bronx. Like, the meshing of those two worlds is so interesting and cool. But there just wasn't the slick, fast-paced writing that I was hoping was going to be there. It felt very slow, and like it couldn't commit to either being like a PG or like an MA film, and it was kind of in between. Or they just couldn't get, I think I just needed something to be a little bit more wacky. It was taking itself a little bit too seriously. For something called Vampires versus the Bronx, I just don't think it should take itself so seriously. It should have been a little bit more I don't know, just quirky and strange. There's like even some parts that have like kind of a little bit of cringy, like Twilight almost. What would I say? Like special effects, like, the first Twilight. I'm not a big Twi fan. What do you call you guys? I don't know what it's called. But I know, like, obviously the people always take the mickey out of the special effects and that. In this one, there's like a flying scene and it's a little bit much. But everything else in it has the foundation. It just needed a little bit of more like humor or something, because it just felt a little bit like it fell flat. Which is unfortunate because I really wanted to love it. It is on Netflix if you do want to check it out, but I'd love to hear what you guys think. So this month I definitely recommend Profile, The Descent, Shiva Baby if you're feeling up to it. 9 Days, definitely watch it. I think everyone should see that, not horror or thriller again. Fear Street, highly recommend. A Classic Story, do recommend. Yeah, that's kind of it, guys. Oh, Till Death, if you haven't seen that yet, I believe it's on Amazon. Check it out. And Vicious Fun, if you were looking for something to watch on Shudder. TV shows, believe it or not, I have not watched a lot of TV shows this month or even really finished them. I did watch Lizzie's Story, which I did a whole video about, and I read the book. So if you do want a comprehensive like breakdown of that, I kept it spoiler free because I know a lot of people will be kind of wondering back and forth if they should watch the TV show or shouldn't, can't be bothered. So I did keep that spoiler free. So if you do want a breakdown, I definitely recommend checking that out. And it's kind of hard because it should be interesting to see if you have read the book, your opinions on that. But I wasn't the biggest fan of the TV show, but I happened to end up, spoiler alert, liking it more than the book. But they're very different in a way. I don't know, the source material is the same, but because you translate something that is the story essentially is quite fantasy and sci-fi based, and translating something like that is all about imagination and reading it in a book into a TV show, even though it is the very exact same source material, and this one is a teleplay written by Stephen King, it very much skews the narrative in a way. If you're interested, definitely check that out because I go through all of the key differences without giving any major spoilers at all in that video, so definitely check that out. I did watch Sophie, A Murder in Cork, which was the mini-series on Netflix about Sophie, who died in Cork and had these mysterious circumstances around her. And I think if you're a true crime fan, definitely check that one out. It was absolutely terrifying, and it's one of those ones where it seems like a very straightforward story until the end of, they do this all the time in Netflix true crime, until the end of every single episode, it just really, something really intense happens. Although I have to say the whole series will leave you quite agitated, as you should be when you watch true crime, but it's not a very nice wrap up or anything like that. It's a very hard to watch series, but not because of graphic, just because of like obviously the way things play out. But I still highly recommend checking it out because it's just a very strange, surreal case. And I started watching An American Crime, The Assassination of Gianni Versace. I have to admit, when I did my Lizzie's Story video, and I was listening to a lot of interviews from Stephen King about how he, wanted to put that into a TV show, he talked about this season and he said it was one of the best TV shows he's ever watched. He loved the formula. And so I wanted to start watching it. I'm about halfway through and I have to say, not loving it. But a lot of people have said to me that they absolutely loved it and it was so gripping and so amazing, and they liked the second half better. So maybe I just need to just keep going. It's obviously the story about Versace and how he died. It surrounds his life, and then obviously the killer himself. I don't want to go too far into it, but the timeline, it kind of jumps around a lot. So I guess I wasn't really prepared for the end to happen at the start, but I don't really know how it ends, really, to be honest. But you see, the intense scene where Versace dies, you see that in the first episode. So I really wasn't, I was expecting a lead up, but that's okay. We like when things are fun and different and original and unique with their structure. I would just be very interested to see where it goes. So I will finish it. I'll get to it. But yeah, let me know what you guys are checking out in terms of TV. I still haven't watched the American Horror Stories, but also I never watched the last 3 seasons of American Horror Stories. So for TV shows, I just kind of fallen off this month, where last month I think I watched like 5. But that's fine. It's nice to kind of break it up, going into TV shows and going back to movies some months, depending what's going on. But thank you guys so much for being here, and let me know what you guys watched this month down below. Hopefully I gave you a couple of recommendations in this video, because I definitely watched a couple of really good movies this month. Also, thank you to everyone who watched my Mike Flanagan video. That was awesome. I just really like the content I've been able to put out lately, so your support means everything, because it's not easy. I do have a day job to put out this content at the same time, so I really do appreciate you all watching and sharing my channel with people. I have noticed a lot of you been doing that, so I really, really appreciate that. Obviously, I would love to hit 100K this year if possible, so I really appreciate your support. If you haven't subscribed, please do. I do videos every single week talking about horror movies, talking about thrillers, and giving you a lot of recommendations, and I'll be back with what to watch next month in just a couple of days with my What's Coming to VOD this month. And I have to tell you, there is so many cool things coming out in August. I'm very excited to get into it. Anyway, I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye, friends.